Bum, bum, bum. I got me a Chrysler and it seats about 20. Hi, everybody. How's it going? Just a normal day over here. What about you? How you doing? You having a good day? That's good. Today, sorry for being weird, I guess. Sorry, not sorry. Today is the Patreon Hangout. Thank you for joining me on Halloween. I actually figured I would start on time today, given that, for some reason, I don't think the,
How? What? How?
3 excellent questions.
Today, we're talking about, Are You Now or Have You Ever? We're officially on the one episode at a time gig daddy-o. So, we'll be getting to that soon. The video today is 18 minutes long, so I'm going to start in a second here, and then I will switch over to the meeting. This is the Patreon Hangout meeting for people in the $5 and up group who feel like joining me and having a chat about an episode. And then, obviously, this stream is free to all. Free to everyone. I'm in a weird mood. I know you can't tell. Anyway, I had to improvise the ensemble today because I didn't feel like it going to the store. So anyone who can guess what or who I'm dressed as will make me feel better about myself. So that'll be nice. All right, let's go ahead and watch the video for Are You Now or Have You Ever Been? This is, I think this was DJ Ian. No. I will, if no one guesses George Carlin and Bill and Ted. Wow, that's actually pretty close, isn't it? Elton John, no. I think, but you guys are making me feel so good about myself. And that's really what Halloween's all about, isn't it? Making me feel good about myself. Let's go ahead and watch the episode, and then no, I am not Lorne, but, all right, 3, 2, 1, play. During the Mutant Enemy Writers Reunion podcast, hosted by Nerdist.com, David Greenwalt listed the Tim Minear episode, Are You Now or Have You Ever Been?, as the turning point for them really figuring out and understanding the show. It's interesting that, in the same way that Firefly's tumultuous life on TV reflected some of its internal themes, the writers having to work to find the voice of this show about a vampire with a soul seeking redemption feels oddly fitting. Are You Now takes place during the paranoia-laden American 1950s. It's brilliant in its construction, foreshadows a number of key events this season, and shows facets of Angel we have yet to see. And I think, for the first time in his story, begins to clarify an important question. What is the line between redemption and forgiveness?
The greater scheme, the big picture.
Crush. Nothing really matters.
Especially
when the crush.
There's a lot worse things out there.
It doesn't work in spite of you.
It
works with us.
Why is it that I'm not on the floor this time?
Take what matters is what we do.
Angel is showing Wes and Cordelia photos of the Hyperion, the mothballed hotel we saw him enter in Judgment. Cordy's obvious joy at being hostess and team caregiver still makes me happy.
No, that's cinnamon.
Sometimes I like to crumble up the Weetabix in the blood, give it a little texture.
Angel withholds his true motivating interest in the hotel, and we get a very cool transition flashback to the Hyperion's heyday. It's 1952, and the front desk is being tended by a squirrely bellman and John Capellos. Yes, I had to look his name up. John is one of those character actors I'm always happy to see, but can never remember the name of. The Richard Jenkins category of awesome actor. The bellman takes a message to a room he's obviously terrified of, currently occupied by... The post-credits opening shot gives us a well-choreographed, panning introduction to the other cast of characters currently living in the Hyperion. Really beautifully designed, with present-day Angel opening the shot and past Angel ending it. Angel returns from a trip to his blood dealer, and Shady Man in the hallway is Shady. In this moment from before Angel meets Whistler, but after he and Darla are Splitsville, he's still drinking human blood. He discovers a woman has been hiding in his room, and this is how we meet Judy. Judy is being followed by Detective McShady, whom Angel tosses out, less to be heroic, but more as a means to get rid of her. As he slams the door in her face, we get another cool transition back to modern times. Wesley and Cordy discover that Angel once lived at the Hyperion. Guess that was a mirrorless camera. Wesley intuits why Angel might have kept his history with the hotel a secret.
Perhaps he was ashamed.
Back in the 1950s, Angel hears the sound of a man
A salesman.
he previously heard talking to no one committing suicide, though doesn't pay it much mind. The hotel manager decides not to call the police after a sultry Cajun voice in his head makes him fear the hotel being shut down. Angel, while smoking a hardcore brood, runs into Judy at the Griffith Observatory. A rumor that the neighbor's suicide was a murder starts to permeate the hotel, and Angel, seemingly against his better judgment, is starting to get to know Judy. Judy reveals that she stole money from her banking employer in order to start a life with her boyfriend and has been hiding out at the hotel. Problem is,
Everyone here's got something to hide.
and Judy has been hiding that.
I've been passing since I was 15 years old.
Passing.
For white.
It's just blood, Judy.
Angel agrees to help Judy and hides the money in the basement. When he does, he hears the Cajun voice of bad ideas for the first time himself.
There's something in this hotel.
Back in the present, Angel has figured out the demon haunting the hotel is a Thessalac demon, and they need to render it corporeal to kill it.
You'll want me to research the raising ritual.
Already done it.
In the past, we see him collaborating with a paranoid conspiracy theorist bookstore owner who explains how to put the paranoia demon down. But the situation in the hotel has decayed beyond coming back. Angel Without a Clause's final moments at the Hyperion occur, wonderfully edited between the present, in which Team Angel works to vanquish the paranoia demon once and for all. In the past, the paranoid residents of the Hyperion attack. They descend on Judy, and to save herself from the crowd, she gives them Angel.
Look at his room! Go ahead! Look! He's got blood! He's a monster!
Oh, Judy. As stated by the bookstore owner, 2 ways to corporealize a paranoia demon: by ceremony or through a big meal. There is something about the Thessalac demon I love that I find hard to pinpoint. There are other demons in the Buffyverse with more terrifying designs, or were perhaps more intricate or artfully rendered. But whenever I think about Angel as a whole, the Thessalac demon is one of the first that bubbles to the surface of my memory. He just so loves being a demon.
And you thought you'd made a friend. Newsflash, you had!
He's so happy about it. From the joyful use of that Creole Cajun accent, a subset of Louisiana for the non-American, that evokes more a side character from A Streetcar Named Desire, to that delighted bellow, the Thessalac sounds and speaks more like a man at a barbecue than a demonic hellspawn. That, contrasted with the fact that his chaos is grilled up from the fears and anxieties inherent to any human, makes him a chilling brand of monster. Back in the present, Team Angel kill the Thessalac, and Angel finds Judy, alone in a room, whose fear the Thessalac has been feeding off of all this time. And Judy, let's go. Wow, where to begin?
We're moving in.
Rhymes. I am posting the link to join the Patreon meeting now. Alrighty, and back to it. Are You Now or Have You Ever Been is the most confident episode of the show not featuring any substantial Buffy influence to date. From the melting pot of cinematic influences it blends together to the design of the Hyperion itself to its incorporation of American history, this episode is a titanic step forward from most of the previous season. Where the first season of the show flirted with its noir influences, Are You Now is an open celebration of them, and somehow all of those familiar elements cohere into a fascinating piece of fantasy storytelling, unlike anything I've quite seen before, that also brilliantly reveals aspects of Angel's character, Generally speaking, Angel is a character divided against himself. Angelus versus Angel, demon versus man, past versus present, agony versus ecstasy. He is a character defined by division and driven by a desire to find some sort of unity, and everything around him reflects that division. From the city where he lives, into which he can only go out at night, to his desire for loneliness and solitude despite the concrete evidence that he needs connections in the world that reflect to him always his best self.
Don't be embarrassed. We're family.
But the flashback sequences in Are You Now present us with an unusual version of Angel, one living passively among humans as a version of himself, curiously unified. There have been previously established tells for the dormancy of Evil Angel. In the first season of Buffy, Darla used the fact that he was still drinking human blood as evidence of a nature he would never escape. But from the moment Buffy showed him that his commitments were stronger than his impulses and that he always had a choice between them, we only see Angel with butcher's blood. After becoming soulless again in surprise, Angelus immediately murdered a woman and blew her own cigarette smoke from his lips, metaphorically tying his evil to the act of smoking. And sure enough, when he reintroduces himself to Spike and Drusilla, he does so cigarette in hand. And here in Are You Now is an Angel who is passive, non-violent, but drinking human blood and smoking. Not so much having unified his two halves as teetering between them and passing as human. Fittingly, noir as a visual tradition is defined by the strict division of light and dark, the lines between white and black. And this episode is steeped in that visual tradition, starting with the introduction of the Hyperion itself. As much as Angel's apartment in Season 1 had a sort of sweet style to it, many of the writers' commentaries from the season involve more than one complaint about the set being too difficult to shoot on, the elevator being way too slow. It was usually artificially sped up in post-production when you see it in action, or the office set feeling a little claustrophobic-y. Once they decided to make the switch from fully episodic to mostly serialized season arcs, the explosion at Angel Investigations 1.0 felt like a statement of purpose. And the Hyperion set feels as ambitious as the show's new direction, where Angel's office and basement apartment were visually ambiguous with bright light spilling in through open windows and the evenly lit apartment. The Hyperion is lit in hard classic visual contrasts. The lamps in the hallway don't throw light evenly across the room, but instead end in hard lines and shadows. The name Hyperion comes from one of the 12 titans of Greek mythology. Hyperion fathered the sun, moon, and dawn. The hotel itself then works as an embodiment of Angel's character, filled with seemingly incompatible contrasts and with a long dark past that Angel is committed to reforming.
This is a house of evil.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Hilariously, in the Buffy episode aired in pairing with this one, the Scoobies also got themselves some new digs this week. The Magic Box. One of the persistent debates in the fandom that doesn't come up quite as often as what's the best season, or do you ship Angel, Bailey, or Scott Hope? Just kidding. Nobody ships Scott Hope, he sucks. Might be Magic Box versus Hyperion. It's interesting how both sets reflect the themes of their respective shows. The Magic Box is bright and colorful, a new future for Giles after a year of midlife crisis. For a place where several previous owners were murdered, the Magic Box feels almost comically unaware of its past. The Hyperion, in contrast, is literally haunted by it. Buffy, a show about growing up, would by its nature be less burdened by history. But Angel is a show about being an adult, and our pasts are something we always carry with us. The city of Los Angeles has been a heavily featured influence on the show already, especially in the interstitial smash cuts. But Judgment, with its street joust, and this episode with its Hollywood-type residence and Griffith Observatory sequence, have been seriously upping the ante. The city is, again, another symbol for Angel, a connection he made directly in Somnambulist when he pondered at the evening skyline.
I wonder if anything ever really changes.
And throughout the show so far, we've seen similar sorts of inner turmoil in the city. The haves and the have-nots, its day and night cycle. Los Angeles is also the most frequently featured city in American noir cinema, from Double Indemnity to The Big Sleep to the homage-laden LA Confidential. Are You Now or Have You Ever Been contains more than one reference to films set in the era it's invoking, or to prominent noir features. The Griffith Observatory sequence with Angel in his red jacket is an homage to James Dean Jean in Rebel Without a Cause. Judy stealing from her employer was the same series of events that led Janet Leigh to the Bates Motel in Psycho. And Judy's pursuing detective is named after a character in Chinatown, who, like Jack Nicholson, later appears in a scene with a taped nose. The title of the episode is a reference to the famous and ugly time period in American history it is set in. The 1950s are sometimes referenced as the heyday of strong American values. Leave It to Beaver, Father Knows Best, Ozzie and Harriet. But beneath the wholesome veneer mainstream entertainment was painting, racial segregation was at its pinnacle. Almost every state still had sodomy laws on the books, and moral panic was everywhere. America was a country divided between what was considered the culturally mainstream normal and everything else. And in 1949, the Soviet Union had tested their first nuclear bomb, which set off a wave of paranoia and fear today known as McCarthyism. Joseph McCarthy was an American senator who managed to stir a public panic that communist eyes were among us and they were everywhere. One of his favorite targets was Hollywood. During the hearings, it was not uncommon for those called to be asked for the names of other possible communists.
The question is, are you now or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
If they didn't give them, they were blacklisted, like the Hollywood 10. If they did,
Mr. Hamlin! Look at his room! Go ahead! Look! He's got blood! He's a monster!
they saved themselves. Part of McCarthy's ultimate downfall came in the form of a 30-minute news broadcast. In 1954, Edward R. Murrow went on CBS and dissected the senator's bully tactics and fear-baiting, ending with a call for responsibility from the American people. McCarthy, he said, wasn't really the one to blame. He didn't create the evil which spawned the blacklist and the persecution. He only capitalized on something which was already inside every one of us. The fault was not in our stars, but in ourselves.
Take them all.
One of the big reasons Are You Now is successful is Judy, Angel's most significant analog in this episode. Judy, in a wonderful performance by Melissa Marsala, is half African-American, half Caucasian, but passing for white.
I've been passing since I was 15 years old.
This is not the first time the idea of passing has shown up in the series. Doyle was accused of passing in Hero.
You wouldn't get it. You're passing. My mother was the same way.
Beyond them both pretending to be something they are not, there are various hints that Judy and Angel are kindred spirits. For instance, in the sequence where we first meet Judy, Angel slams the door in her face. But the way the sequence is edited, the camera pulls back, revealing the... Sorry, just a moment.
I'll take away your bucket.
Okay. The face Angel slammed the door on was his own. I think the use of these ugly American historical cultural artifacts would feel trite and inappropriate on many other shows. But since these shows are so steeped in theme and the exploration of important human questions already, it works. Judy's issues with race and belonging aren't simply a vehicle for understanding Angel's. His are also one for understanding hers. If the episode hadn't done Judy justice with a convincing performance and a satisfying emotional payoff, this would have been a misstep. As terrific as an episode of the show Are You Now is, I have to admit things it does well are not necessarily at the heart of my addiction to the series. Buffyverse flashback episodes are of a shockingly consistent quality. Generally, if the episode features scenes of a gallivanting Angelus or a guilt-ridden pre-Whistler Angel, it is likely to be one of the highlights from that season, and Are You Now is no different. But where those other episodes use flashbacks in parallel with and to reveal ideas about our characters in current time, Are You Now's story is almost entirely contained in the past. Though the acquisition of the hotel is definitely a vital moment, most of what the tale reveals about the present has yet to be seen. The episode is artful, intricate, and engrossing, but I miss Team Angel and the chemistry that normally flows between them that is sidelined for most of it. In the DVD commentary, Tim Minear said the hardest parts to write in this episode were the modern-day scenes where we actually do see... For the record, it's Minear, Tim Minear. We know that now. Gunn, Wesley, and Cordy. There are a ton of complex, beautiful things going on here, but all the time spent setting them up builds to an emotional payoff important, but so quick and quiet that if you're not paying close attention, you might miss it. The episode contains two very significant ties to previous. The first is In the Dark.
What do you want, Angel?
I want forgiveness.
And the second is the Buffy episode, I Only Have Eyes for You. In I Only Have Eyes for You, ghosts of a murder-suicide couple are living their grisly end through human avatars over and over again. Buffy, who has been blaming herself for Angel's death, is inhabited by the murderer, and his victim inhabits Angelus. The murder takes place, but possessed Angelus, who can't die with a bullet, stops possessed Buffy from killing herself over the guilt, and gives her exactly what she needs in order to be able to forgive herself for what happened. I still love it. Anyway, in Are You Now or Have You Ever Been, the mirrors of Judy and Angel commit two regrettable acts. Judy turns the crowd on Angel to save herself, and Angel, in response, abandons the hotel, Judy, and the rest of its inhabitants, people he could have saved, to a hungry Thessalak. Insofar as she is aware, Judy saving herself led to the murder of someone who had been going out of his way to help her. And Angel knew that the angry mob that attacked him was being emotionally amplified by the ugly, tentacled monster. They may not have deserved his forgiveness, but after all...
To forgive is an act of compassion, Buffy. It's not done because people deserve it, it's done because they need it.
Judy spends a lifetime of guilt alone in the hotel, believing she has done something she can never take back. But just as the bullet in I Only Have Eyes for You was not enough to end him, time and the noose are not either. And in their final moments together, Angel gives Judy the thing he himself most desperately desires. A thing the trail of dead in his wake cannot give him.
Can you forgive me? Of course.
And with that act of compassion, if only for that finite moment in time, Angel is redeemed.
We can deny our heritage and our history, but we cannot escape responsibility for the result. There is no way for a citizen of a republic to abdicate his responsibilities. And whose fault is that? Not really his. He didn't create this situation of fear, he merely exploited it. Cassius was right. The fault, dear Brutus, is not in our stars, but in ourselves.
I like that one. I don't say that very often. All right, let's join... Boris, rest your fingers. You're gonna tire them out disagreeing with me so often. Let me switch over to the meeting. Hold on just a moment. Yeah, I look good. Join. Hi, everybody. Wait. Let's check for audio issues. Chucky, can you hear me? Can you give me an audio check? I don't think I hold on. Let's check the audio.
I certainly can, sir.
Oh, there we go. Okay, sweet. Hi, everyone. Happy Halloween.
I can only hear Jack.
You can't hear me?
Yeah, you're muted for us, Ian.
Okay.
I don't. It's like the little mute.
In the end, you're all you've got.
It would it would help if I hit the unmute button. Hi. How's everyone doing? Happy Halloween. It's good to see you. Thank you for spending your since I'm actually going to be talking with people. Hold on. There we are. Thank you for spending a bit of your Halloween here or tomorrow or yesterday. I don't know where you guys are in the world and the time zones and all of that. I appreciate it. Let me go ahead and start with Boris. Boris, hello. You're still muted.
Oh.
Hi. How's it going?
Going all right. I guess your face is just going to be on there. That's fine. Oh. Yeah, I managed to come up with something at noon last minute.
Okay.
It's Mr. Crowd.
Well, I didn't didn't put very much thought into this. It's just a pun, if anyone can come up with it, but that's okay.
Is it in a suit or something?
It's an unusual Halloween. I don't think anyone's going to hold it against us for, we did something. We did something. So, tell me about Are You Now?
Well, I didn't like this episode very much when I first watched it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've kind of gained some appreciation for it over the years, or with time in these last year or so since the guide and rewatching it. Like, it's neat. It's got some cool stuff going on for it. I'm just getting my notes here.
Okay.
Yeah.
The usual stuff. Before we start, to everyone in the YouTube stream and to everyone here, first of all, let me switch back. Is there anyone here who has not watched all of Buffy and Angel? Everyone, we're good? Okay. So in that case, just letting everyone in the stream know in advance, this is a completely spoiled conversation. So if you haven't watched all of Buffy and Angel, you might not want to, words are hard. Bail me out, Boris. Go ahead.
That's what you get working with a demon.
Perfect. So, episode.
You were saying it was like one of the best Angel episodes or whatever. I don't know if I go that far for me personally, but it's pretty like, as far as this, because you're saying it was the best of this season, and there's an argument to be made for that, but I kind of feel like at the very least some of the other episodes have higher highs. That whole reprise epiphany thing, like those scenes are a little more iconic overall. But,
scenes, yes. Epiphany contains one of the best scenes in the series. But when I think about that episode, I think about the courtyard scene, and then I think about the courtyard scene.
Yang's pretty good, and like the nice scenes. The plot is kind of it kind of works. It's your kind of morning after episode that you wanted Sanctuary to be, so it kind of works in that.
Yeah, I enjoy Epiphany. I'm just saying that I follow. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can definitely appreciate how well the episode's overall pretty well structured and constructed. I kind of like that we learn some things, and then one example, we put the money inside that thing on the top, and then we take it down, and it's like, oh, they didn't take the money. What happened then? That's a nice question to have, and you get kind of some of those throughout the episode. You get that guy gets arrested, and then it's like, well, I hope I don't get in trouble for this. And also, at one point, Judy is saying oh, I don't want to be confined. It's gonna be the worst thing ever. And then in an ironic Twilight Zone-esque punishment, she is doomed to that room for eternity,
right?
Until the thing is dead. Although, yeah, the thing with that, the power of the Thessalic is kind of vague in a lot of places, because it's like I can kind of get that's transmitting people's thoughts to people, and I guess that's kind of hypnotic. Although, because I guess you would,
more than kind of.
Yeah, because I guess if I had a different voice in my head, it'd be like, what's up with that? Although it doesn't seem to be able to work on Angel, I guess, because it's kind of vague whether it can work on. I guess it doesn't work on vampires. It's a little, and then apparently it can keep Judy alive without food or anything in that room for almost 50 years.
Sure.
And it's there's a lot of questions about that.
Well, I think it's specific as it needs to be for the sake of the storytelling. So, for instance, Takeout and all the other people died or killed each other. Is that a satisfying answer? If you think the episode is about the Thessalac demon specifically, no, probably not. But I don't feel like what is there is internally contradictory from the standpoint of the storytelling one way or another. It's sure I would with any kind of episode with a really interesting demon, I'm always interested to know more, but I don't think that in this case as long as it's not contradictory, I think vagueness doesn't undermine the quality of the episode. But that's just my personal opinion.
Oh, And I guess the demon was also something I didn't really kind of took me out of the episode the first time because I've grown to like him a little more, but like I kind of felt like tone wise it didn't really fit as well as it could have. Although learning that he's Braytech is kind of cool. Like, that's nice. Like this kind of over the top evil, like it's a very kind of specific magic that kind of has to work in certain circumstances. Like you got your Palpatines and your Skeksis, and they kind of work where they're at. I'm not sure this guy completely worked here. Like,
what about the Master?
The Master is he works as like a long-term villain as far as like, you know, like he kind of fits that campy tone that Buffy's going for. Plus, like there's variety. You got different episodes he's in and stuff. Like this episode's very specifically about the whole McCarthy thing, and then like, just like so cackly and stuff. It's like I wasn't crazy.
Newsflash ahead.
Yeah. Although, just gotta talk about that shot from the thumbnail because it's damn cool.
Oh, the depth of field shot over the shoulder.
Angel's just walking away.
So beautiful.
He's just like, this guy, and then he stops, and then the demon is blurry in the back, and he just slowly comes in as he's like, yeah, Angel, let's do the evil thing, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean it's a visual representation of his power. That idea, the you know, as a we'll say high functioning neurotic. The episode speaks to me very personally because you talked about like if you had voices in your head, you would start to worry. Well, yeah, you do kind of start to worry sometimes.
Well, I at least hope if I did have voices in my head, would they be like my voice or Cajun guy?
Well, like, I think that for the purposes of the story, we hear his voice. But the way everyone behaves, it's just anxiety. They're hearing their own voices in their own heads, is my reading of it. But the literal version that we hear is the Cajun voice for the purposes of the storytelling. But I mean, that's a jump. Again, I don't feel like one way or another it affects what the episode is trying to say or the dramatic heart of the theme itself. But I get what you're saying.
Also, it kind of felt like at times the motivations of some of the characters would like change, and like maybe it's supposed to be a commentary on the paranoia, but like it felt a little weird because like the hotel guy is like, we gotta hide the body, we can't let the press find out, and then like it's like, oh yeah, we got this woman murdered him, he's probably a murderer, let's bring that out, and then the investigator guy, like he shows up and it's like, I'm gonna get Judy. She has bad stuff, and then Judy's like, it was Angel. He did the stuff. Oh, no. I'm guessing I turned against him. I'm just gonna go against him now. Even though Judy said this, and I don't trust her. But like, I guess that he's mad that he got punched in the face or something, or like the door in his face. But like, it's still a little like.
Well, that all feels very blacklisty to me. Like the Hollywood 10, and everyone was being forced to. Conform to the agenda of one man from multiple professions and multiple different backgrounds and all of that. So, I mean, from the metaphor of McCarthyism and the way that man subjected the country to something that was present and there already, I mean, the demon isn't necessarily inventing things from scratch, but playing on insecurities he knows that people have from the characters that we're intimately connected with enough to know that about. So McCarthy gaslit the country before it was cool. Yeah. But that brings up a good time for me to mention this episode is very concerned with history and political history. But as a general rule, and especially given how we're all feeling in pandemic time with the world on fire, I like to try and avoid contemporary politics. So for everyone here and for everyone in the chat, this is more a place for us to discuss our favorite shows and to look cool, I guess, than for a political discussion. So if we can avoid that, we're all stressed out enough about the state of the world right now. Sorry, Boris, go ahead.
Yeah, so there's just some things that they could have maybe ironed out possibly, but it's not. I guess it can work in the metaphor and stuff.
Yeah.
Liked was that when Denver is like asking Angel like, when were you sired? And then it's like, I think you're about 30, and then Angel's like, no. And I kind of like to think that's like a reference to the fact that like David has aged since Buffy season 1. That's like kind of a jab at that. So that's kind of fun. I kind of question like if the O positive blood that Angel was drinking in the beginning was also human. It does raise some questions about the whole like the vague evil angel thing that you're kind of hinting at here. And like,
yeah.
Like I guess you can maybe it's supposed to be foreshadowing, but it's just kind of. Although on that note, like taking O positive blood seems like a dick move to me because it's like you can use O positive blood for like everybody, and it's like you're going to use this and you just use yourself, and it's like, come on, man, like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, is that the only blood they had at the time? Like,
well, Cordy, the other thing that I wondered about, so we watched the, just a reference, we watched the, Jack and I streamed our rewatch of this episode last night on the channel. I'm going to create a thumbnail set and a playlist for the rewatches. And I haven't been satisfied with the tools available to us to watch all together, so I kind of feel like a stream on the main channel is the best way to do it with the playhead where you watch your own versions. So we'll be doing more of those going forward. Also, I had to get kind of some separation from the bad decision streams now that I have been sober for 7 or 8 months. But anyways, when she hands him the O positive blood, I was like, so is that pig's blood, badger's blood, cow's blood? And I realized I don't know how blood typing works in animals. Because for her to say "oh pos" is very specific to is a very specific reference that we consider human blood. I don't know. It just kind of threw me off a little bit. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah, like if anyone in the chat knows anything, that would be very helpful.
Yes, if anyone knows about pig's blood, we're all
for
in.
Animals in general, you know.
Oh, and the other thing I wanted to mention was we're kind of being flexible with the limit of people to the meeting now that we're only doing one episode at a time. But I'm still going to, as I posted, I'm still kind of keeping a timer for roughly 10 minutes each time. Is there anything else you wanted to throw out about... I realize I ate up some of your time there, Boris, and I'm sorry. So,
it's not such a problem. I believe that I have some other notes, but like I think I got most of the main points. So let's we can move on. Maybe we'll bring something up later if we have to. But you know,
all right, bud.
The deal's been made.
I love it. I'm going back. Let's go to Sarah E. Sarah, you look spectacular.
Why, thank you, Muffin. I think you have to. There's been a request in the chat that you sing, and I read your future.
All right. Build me up. Build me up. Damn it, no. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips. That's all I got.
Okay. It's coming to me that I think you're going to keep making videos and never get them made as quickly as you intend to.
That seems on brand. You do have a power.
Yeah.
I love it.
But they will continue to get better and better.
Well,
except maybe not better than this one, because this one is awesome.
I appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, I feel like this video was a turning point for me writing about Angel specifically. And one of the reasons why I definitely wanted to chat with you early about it was because I don't remember if it was I think it was during the live tweet session where you're the one who, I love the live tweet sessions for getting kind of a wide cut of everyone else's experiences with the episode. And I know it was you specifically either during the live stream or we talked about it afterwards, where you talked about the perspective of Judy passing and the metaphor of that and how that informed Angel, and that kind of blew up the whole video for me, and I was very appreciative. I think you're cited in that video. If not, you should be.
Yeah, yeah, you did, which is very kind. I'm glad that I was able to help in some way. I love this episode. Like, this is me trying to form words, and when do I not have words? This is one of my favorite pieces of art. Period. End of sentence.
It's
all of everything. This is one of my favorite pieces of art. Yeah, I needed to see Judy when I saw this episode, and it just...
I wanted like that ending. So the first time through the series when I watched, I honestly, I think your perspective that you shared with me, and you share whatever you're comfortable with, of course, not no more, no less, but the perspective that you shared with me is kind of what opened up the episode for me, because when I watched it before, Judy being alive in the hotel by the end of the episode was a little weird. As Boris said, it's a little strange. The mechanics of it stuck out to me as like, how?
What is it that Lonnie says? Real life isn't an excuse for fiction, or like fiction is supposed to be what life feels like, not what it is.
Yeah. Well, once I got the relationship between those two characters through the perspective that you shared with me, it made me understand just how necessary that final scene is to the episode. Absolutely, like you said, we do need to see her again. We do need to see that she's there. I'm sorry, I'm running with it.
Yeah, well, hey, it's a conversation.
Yeah.
Too often I end up talking over. But yeah, like because because her being there at the end makes it not just that the person of color is giving something to the white guy.
Right.
It's there, it becomes an exchange, which I think elevates this. But
there's a circular relationship to it that's really beautiful. By the way, Lonnie is in the chat, and she said, reality is no defense for fiction or condemnation in this instance.
Yeah. Well, when I'm not green, I have very fair skin, although not as fair as it usually. The color correcting is one of many things that doesn't account for people of mixed race. So when I do my videos, I have to do extra color correcting to look like myself. But I am half Egyptian. I'm half Middle Eastern. And I didn't watch this show. I watched the later seasons when it aired, but I didn't watch the first seasons. I didn't watch this episode until 2003. So I watched this episode as a white passing Middle Eastern person a couple years after September 11th. So yeah, you said no politics, but...
Well, I mean, it's tough to avoid. The episode is about politics. I just kind of, as much as possible, if we could stay away from contemporary stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So yeah, the sort of experience of having sort of all of a sudden people see some part of you completely differently.
Yeah.
And you kind of, things change. And those were some very dark times for me. And so there was something in seeing Judy and seeing the sort of relationship between the two that kind of spoke to me in a way that's hard to express.
Yeah. I mean, that's the experience of fiction that I think we're all here for, is that deep connection to something, and you got it on a level that was pretty significant, it sounds like.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like I could talk also about like as a piece of writing, I think it's amazing and a piece of social critique because you can look at the demon as like a metaphor of the hegemony establishment culture made flesh and the way that it because that sort of power politics, to go to Foucault. Yes, I'm going to talk about philosophy, Well Painted Green.
Okay. I'll try and keep
You
up.
don't pronounce the T. It's Foucault.
Yes, Foucault.
Damn you. I'm joking.
And also like Edward Said, the whole thing about how like power works, to separate people into others, to maintain the power and to manufacture the normal. Like that's how it kind of like others of the people, and there's a kind of and makes everybody turn on each other just the way that they do here, because we have in the hotel, like we have the closeted queer character, and we have the communist and the sex worker, all the people who are not fitting into what is constructed as the norm and all like sort of in their own misery, alone in these little boxes. The only way they can interact is when the thing gives them a common enemy, and turning on each other and stuff. It's like it's the way that sort of the way he feeds on them is sort of the way that the power feeds on on humans. I'm not doing
No, I get where you're going. That's the McCarthy aspect of it, turning people against each other instead of against the people with the power.
But it's not confined to McCarthy. This is a fundamental part of the way culture works.
Yeah.
Manufactured consent and all that. McCarthy was kind of a particular peak, but the Frankfurt School would say this is the way culture works. Others would say this is the way that a particular kind of culture has become, but it doesn't have to be that way. But yeah, it sort of leaves everybody in their own little boxes. And the thing about people who are in some way passing, or racially ambiguous, or where your otherness isn't readily apparent, or where you don't have when you don't have a box with other people and you end up in a sort of liminal space,
right?
Sort of become a liminal person where there is nothing, there is no one and nothing that is like you. And it feels, it's incredibly isolating. And the demon is doing that to everybody. And I think it makes it more than anything. And it reflects sort of Angel is kind of the fictional version of that, because he is the only one of his kind.
Yeah, it's kind of an unprecedented application of theme to that particular fantasy. I mean, there's a metaphor to vampires that you can tell me up and down about, I know. But
there are many. Monsters are meaning-making machines.
Yeah, but to find this particular application of it on his circumstances, I think is so interesting and unique. It's one of the things that's so special about this episode, and so unique to theme-driven shows, of course. But boy, is it something special here.
Yeah, and the way that in all that, you get these moments where Angel sees Judy, and Judy sees Angel. And to be seen when you're in the liminal space.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, to anybody, to be seen is incredibly important. That sort of recognition thing. And it's a thing not everybody gets. Angel never gets it. Angel can't even see himself in the mirror, and he is the only one of his kind. So he never gets to have that being seen, but he gets a little piece of himself to be seen with Judy, and she gets that too with him.
That's really interesting because there's a huge mirror motif going on in this season. The first scene with Team Angel in the gym, he looks in the mirror and can't see himself, but he sees the reflections of the team around him and then shatters the mirror, which is foreshadowing later in the season, of course. But I love what you've just called out about just the notion of being seen in media or being seen in the world around you or being seen in culture, and him having that experience for pretty much the first time since Judy. I mean, there might be or with Judy rather. There may be other examples of that, but that's really, again, I just continue to love this episode more and more.
Yeah, it is. Everything about it is beautiful. Like the filmmaking techniques and the set design and the costumes. Like she's in the flower. She's always in flowers, and she's a hothouse flower. She's kept by the demon forever. And
that's interesting.
Yeah. And it's just, and like the Hitchcock touches and the Kubrick touches. It's just.
Yeah, we were thinking about, is there a way to do this period without invoking Hitchcock? I mean, he's so fundamental to the visual language of that time that everything to me from that period looks like Hitchcock or whatever the screwball kind of off-the-wall comedy duos were of the time. But yeah, I definitely see the print, and I love the hotel. I love the improvement of the hotel and how it is sort of designed from the ground up to represent the themes of the show, where Angel Investigations was just kind of cool before. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's an amazing step. I mean, just a huge leap forward in the series.
Yep. It is a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah. Well, is there anything?
That's all I got.
All right. Sounds good. Well, once again, you look stunning.
Thank you.
All right, let's.
You take care. Strudel.
Strudel. Is that the guess?
No, I'm just calling you pastries.
Oh, stop calling me pastries. I love it. Let's go to Sarah C. Hi.
Yeehaw. Hello.
Welcome.
What's up? Hey. So I also had your Halloween, which I haven't done in like 3 years, but I was gonna do, and I might do an outfit change if I really feel like it. My Spike look, which is just a black t-shirt, a belt, black jeans, and my red button down, and my hair is blonde. I could do some eyebrow makeup, but that seems already like too many steps. So instead, I found they're not chunky 80s earrings, but they are gold and hoops. I finished Bly Manor this week. It ruined my life.
Was it good?
So many ways. It's great. It just ruined my life.
Okay.
It honestly ruined my life. So I am.
I still haven't watched the first one.
But I have mom jeans and a belt and a pink shirt, and I'm Danny, and I'm also in love with Jamie. So, and I have a plant. Okay. It's about. So.
All right. Well, welcome. Are you now, or have you ever?
Are you now, or have you ever? This one is just literally a. saying masterpiece sounds like I'm overselling it, but the amount of stuff that, like, okay, so season 2 is all about duality, and this one sort of shoves it front and center. My first note, which is like kind of the thing I want to talk about least, but I was always puzzled by it, is that apparently, right, Judy's been passing for white, and they implied that she's half African American. The actress is half Chinese, and that's always been a little weird to me, because I'm like, I'm sure we can talk about, like, you know, biracial Chinese people, but why was the casting call not like biracial African American? It just seems a bit weird, especially if you're being so specific about it. It's not, oh, ethnically ambiguous. It's, no, I'm half black, and then the actress is straight up not that. That was always a bit odd.
Yeah,
it is what it is.
That's
Yes.
interesting. I was thinking Sean Connery passed away today, and I was thinking about, he's like the go-to, the dude played Spanish Frenchman and a Russian, and he has the thickest Scottish, like a Scottish brogue of any actor at that caliber. Very bizarre. When how those decisions end up being the way that they end
Especially
up.
when we're talking about something as sensitive and specific as a passing half black person in the United States. I feel like that's the kind of time when you're like, hey, casting call.
Yeah, I mean, the script has a sensitivity and a theme that is driven by that idea, and then it's not, while the actress does a wonderful job, it's not necessarily reflected in the casting at the time.
Yeah, it's not something I want to harp on too much, but I just imagine if I were, that type of person being represented, whatever it might be, I would be like, hey, can it be actually like one of us who gets to play this role? I don't know. That's just usually how I feel. So
yeah, understood.
Anyway, onto some themes, man. So the idea of paranoia, that it sort of recalled for me fear itself as well, where the paranoia demon and the little fear demon, right, are things that have to, right, they're metaphors, right, fear and paranoia, but they have to be made corporeal, right? They're a thing that has to be pulled out into the open that they can fight, which is, again, pretty basic as a metaphor, but the same idea of what's paranoia. It's even McCarthyism, even the paranoia that goes on in the hotel. It's not about Angel. It's not even about Judy. It's about them needing something to corporealize to be able to unleash whatever. It's about them. Right? It's about whatever they're trying to feel like, right? It's Buffy's give me something I can punch.
Right.
Right? So that's the idea. And I thought that was neat how it played out with the idea that they needed to corporealize it, how it came out after a big feast, and how that sort of, again, reminded me of the same idea in Fear itself.
Well, the thing I love about that, too, is that psychologically, if you're dealing with anxiety, if you're dealing with fear, if you're dealing with any of these things, those things tend to drive decisions for a while. You tend to act out of fear, act out of whatever, until you completely acknowledge the fear itself, completely elevate those things from the subconscious. So I hadn't thought about that before, the way the metaphor works even psychologically with dealing with your own paranoia and fear, which is to elevate it, to completely disclose it and acknowledge that it's present.
Yeah. I'm always struck by the hollowness of, I mean, the divide between the frantic, like, we're gonna hang him, and the mob adrenaline, and then just the complete hollowness of the moment after, where it's like, oh, because obviously, right? I mean, obviously, first, seeing a man that you've hung is a little bit, jarring.
That moment is so shocking, though, and it's so well done the way it poor choice of words. The way it just sits in that silence, and they all sort of take it in. That breathless moment afterwards is incredible. Because it wasn't about Angel, right? If the problem were Angel, right? Okay, cool. We got the bad guy, but again, fear is something, or paranoia is something that, whether it's McCarthyism, whether it's any sort of xenophobia, any sort of anything, right? It's about you, not about the object, etc. Yeah. And then there's, this whole season delves into Angel's guilt, which is, and whatever, Angel's like darkness, but specifically not Angelus. We've talked about Angelus. We've seen season 2, whatever. We saw Eternity, I think.
And then, but it's not the demon in me that needs killing, it's the man.
Right.
Yeah. This is an act that he clearly feels a lot of guilt over, that whether or not we can, you know how I feel about, was it him or was it not him, Angelus? It's different. But even if you use that excuse, there's no soullessness here. This is whatever you want to call this, Angelus with a soul, some weird middle ground. This was a choice he made to let the paranoia demon eat people.
Take them
and
all.
that's the side of him it's not the demon in me that needs killing, and that's the side of him that we're going to be chatting about this season, specifically this weird this one-track mindedness, like you see when he goes absolutely ham on Darla and Drew, and he's like, well, I guess I'll do push-ups even though I'm immortal because I need a montage to show I'm serious about this. Let me wait for them in this garage. Hold on, wait. Oh yeah, I'm gonna light them on fire with my cigarette. Like he's so this like self-indulgent resentment of his, and it's the very much the same mood to me as when he does his whole I'm gonna light them on fire. So like take them all.
It reminds me of. It's funny how often that lesson emerges, or that theme emerges in the Buffyverse. I'm working on the video for. Safe, and the formative line that I think it relates to is just how come you don't care where you're going, because how you get there is the worthier part, which is so relates to if nothing we do matters, then all that matters is what we do, which is incredible. But yeah, I think I had blacked out the montage. I was pretending the montage push-up montage didn't exist. So thanks for that.
I always find it so funny. I'm like, dude, you're immortal. And even if you weren't immortal, you can't gain significant strength or muscle mass in the 2 days that you're doing push-up. Who is this for? And it's for him.
Yeah.
It's because he needs to feel like he's doing something. I'm like, you literal moron. 2 more pull-ups and what? You're gonna be able to fight Darla?
I've never really thought about that. It's like if you're gonna die to a vampire and be turned, it would be a real bummer to die at the bottom of your fitness arc. You have super strength. And also, even if he were a human, I'm sorry, metabolically training for 2 days, you don't do anything. You need months. But what? It's for him. It's because he wants to feel like he's Rocky and on some dark mission. I don't even know. Yeah, maybe he needed the endorphins.
I love him.
Stop lounging and cheer the hell up.
It's and his voiceover, which is just some inner monologue while he's doing push-ups. It's okay, yeah. Are you proud of yourself? This is good. And finally, the idea of the mirror and how you're seen. There's a ton, but Judy being biracial sort of, whatever, elevates this idea of there are 2 ways that you're seen, right? There is the way you see yourself, and there is you're reflected in the people around you, right? And there's the other people see you, right? That's the concept of passing right there, right? The thing that you are, the thing that you are, whether it's your cultural, your ethnic, or your racial identity that is salient or more or less salient, right? And then there's the way that people see you, and passing, right? Whether we're talking about vampires or someone of a mixed culture, right? It's that dissonance between who you see me as and who I know I am, or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
Right. So that's what's happening with you, right? She is one thing, but is seen as another. And in that case, this grants her safety. And that happens with Angel. That happens with Angel as a vampire, first of all, because he walks around with a human face.
Right.
Right. And his soul, right? Which even, let's say he has his vampire face, they don't know he's a soul sometimes. And then there's the metaphysical, emotional stuff, which is the way you see yourself, right? Knowing your mistakes, your darkness, right? This part of him that Cordy and Wes don't know, right? They know he killed his Angelus, but clearly he's got some shame in hiding this because maybe he had agency, right? So he goes out of his way to sort of be a little more secretive because that's a part of him that he knows that they don't see.
Right.
So it's that same idea, and it still exists. And the whole thing is about reconciling the two. And that's the thing that we all have, right? When you meet someone new, right? You don't know everything they've been through. They may be a very certain person now. Would it make a difference if you found out that 10 years ago they did something terrible, right?
I mean, that's also an incredibly relevant topic to our present time, not talking about politics, but with social media and people's history being written, history of poor mistakes being written in stone for that length of time. I think we're all sort of grappling with as a culture. The question you just asked is now you can know the answer to that question. Did someone ever make a terrible, ugly statement or joke 10 years ago or 5 years ago? And how long is too long or whatever?
I think it's a judgment call, and then I'll close it here. I think in that case, though, the only thing I'll say, I was speaking more to, in the interest of staying out of that stuff. Like, whatever, you were a shittier person, whatever, you were just not a nice person. Does it matter to someone that you meet now? I'd say in most cases, maybe not. I'd say, you know what, I'm meeting you now. And maybe if I'd met you then, I wouldn't like you.
Right.
But what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So, and then on the other end, I think it's just a judgment call of the gravity of whatever the sin is. But I just think there's a lot of interesting stuff that I genuinely could talk about for hours, so I'm not going to. Oh, I'll say one more thing because it's stupid and I want to say it.
Hit me.
So I had this theory that started out as a joke, and then I think I might be onto something, of the way Angel styles his hair is directly... Kay and Nikki should not be egging me on. The way Angel styles his hair has thematic significance.
Okay.
Season 2, he uses specifically gel. It is crunchy, it is shiny, it is awful. Okay. The gel, he is specifically playing up the late 90s bad boy because he has no idea who he is. In Angel Season 3, when he's in the middle of like, oh God, who am I? I'm suicidal. I need to figure out my life. He's using a matte paste. You can tell his hair is not as shiny. So we're like, okay, he's evolving.
Yeah.
Season 1 of Angel, we're back to crunchy gel. Why? Because he's in a period of he's regressing back. He's back to Batman. He's like, okay, I have this persona.
Mm-hmm.
And then he starts to move back to matte paste. By season 3 of Angel, it's all matte paste. Look how fluffy his hair looks. It's my favorite look of his. So in the 50s, yes, it was the style, but look how glossy his hair is because he is playing a part. When Angel uses glossy or gel-based hair, he is playing a part. When he has it natural or matte paste, he is comfortable with himself.
When is that video coming out?
Oh,
because I want that video.
I'm unironically gonna make that. I cracked the code. So.
Yeah. Well, tag me when you do, please.
Absolutely.
All right.
Cool.
Is there anything else you want to throw out about
I think that's a perfect note I wanted to end on. So.
I agree. All right. I think I have a. Oh, do I have everyone on screen? I think I do. Let's go to Nikki. Oh, wait a second. Wait. I said I would do this before. Is there anyone who has to go early? I apologize. I said I would start by asking that question. Josh, you look amazing. I mean, everyone always looks good, but I thought we do. I love it. All right, let's go to Nikki. And hold on. Stop typing just for a second. There we go. Hi.
Hello.
Nikki, you've been here before, right? Is this the first time?
Yes.
Oh, yeah,
This
okay.
is second time.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. I'd like to say that even though it's November 1st, I am dressed as Cowboy Guy Riley.
Oh!
So...
Well, you got here early, so you got to be Cowboy Guy.
Literally. That was the game plan, but I'm not going to keep the cowboy hat on because it scares me to have it on. Anyway.
That's okay.
So, talking about this, it's okay. Yeah, everyone's going to say it's just a really good episode. It's probably like one of my favorite Angel episodes, if not one of my favorite Buffy episodes. It's just super rad. It's like the 50s, everything that was going on. I think I just watched a lot of movies from that era growing up. So seeing all the influences is just really fun, and all the costuming is really great. And the Griffith University scene, observatory scene with the James Dean red shirt. It's just very rad. And seeing how McCarthyism is portrayed by kind of this demon, and how paranoia is just a really interesting way to do it. And I think it's just so cool, bad obviously, but cool in that that's how it manifested. But I one of the like my favorite parts about the demon and like how he kind of works or like feels so real, like to have anxiety and have that so prevalent in yourself, like to have those voices, which I'm sure everybody has, but those insecurities, like it feels, the demon feels so real that when it gets a corporeal form, it's almost more terrifying because it's like, yeah, that's kind of how I feel, and then the fact that it also looks like that and like the tentacles in its way, it's like I imagine it being like super slimy because that's how intrusive thoughts can kind of be. It's like it slime your way through into you.
Yeah, I think that there are more interesting visually designed demons in the series. I think Skip is fascinating. I love the intricacy of his design and how that contrasts with the performance of the actor. I think it's hilarious. It's wonderful. I think the Beast is interesting. You know, some kind of lava rock monster is really interesting. You know, more visually intensive certainly, but whenever I think about my favorite or scariest or most compelling, emotionally compelling demons in the Buffyverse, this one is near the top of the list every time. The combination of the actor's performance and, as you said, the way the power works and all of that is so. Also, just what he does to Judy is terrifying. The idea of her being in that hotel for 50 years is a nightmare in the series. So yeah, definitely high up there on the list for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I think because I rewatched it last night, I had like a new found sense of like fear for the thought of being like trapped with your own thoughts for 50 years. Like we've been in lockdown for 4 months. And then being trapped with your thoughts like that for just that period of time. Oh my God. And then the fact that it's like this external demon that's making it worse. It's genuinely terrifying. Like,
yeah, and I mean, like in modern times, just I don't know about anyone else, but I have been I've caught myself doom scrolling like there's no tomorrow, which is the social media equivalent of that demon's voices in your head all the time. I've had to block myself off social media from time to time to just stop. Because it's history repeats itself. We're all kind of dealing with a variation of this kind of thing. So it certainly is compelling for modern times.
Yeah, no, definitely. I totally agree. Anyway, moving on from that, my last kind of like dot point. It's just the ending is just very perfect and it has so much heart to it, and it always makes me tear up. Like you said in the guide, it's like at the end of the day, forgiveness is kind of a two-way streak, and I think by being able to forgive Judy, Angel was like forgiving himself, and it's like, you know, it all comes down to that. It's all about, I think, redemption and forgiveness is like intertwined, because you can forgive someone and have that be a part of you growing, and that is very neat.
Yeah, I mean, you need to manifest that thing that you desire, which he gets the opportunity to do in this scene, and it gets me every time. The parallels that I talked about in the video that it has to I Only Have Eyes for You are definitely, that episode being about forgiving yourself is so compelling to me. The challenges and the difficulties of this, it's wonderful the way he wrote that.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, that's
all right. You all good?
Very good.
All right, sounds good. Let me back out here. Let's go to Josh. Josh, hello, sir. I've missed you the last couple.
Yeah, it's been a minute, see? I've been out of the town, see? Walking and talking and gumshoeing, see? But I haven't been able to get all the way in, see? And I can't sustain the voice.
I was going to say, if you do this entire 10 minutes in that voice, something's going to happen. I will sing the rest of this.
I'm an accent sprinter. I'm not an accent marathoner. If I try to sustain any accent other than my own, I wind up Jamaican for some reason.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter where. It's still good for anybody.
It's good to see you.
It's good to be seen. It's good to be back. Had a couple of weekends with conflicting, life things.
It happens, yeah.
But we're here, and it's Halloween,
and it's a very spooky episode.
It really is, man. It really freaking is.
Yeah.
I totally agree with the design of the Thessalak being just like genuinely creepy. For me, it's the fact that it doesn't have arms. That's the most affecting part. It's armless.
Okay.
So like, he probably can't physically hurt you. I mean, he's got the tentacles, but like only those two. He's like a squid. Only the two are long enough to grab anybody. And then he doesn't have any arms, which means that it's all they'll turn you in, and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, man. It's the lack of arms that makes him the creepiest. When I was looking at this episode, I was thinking about, and I'm really excited about Angel Season 2. What may be a controversial opinion, I think Angel Season 2 is my favorite Angel season.
I don't think that's controversial. I think I hear a lot of 2s and a lot of 3s when people talk about the show. Never two. Actually, it's mostly 5, and then 2 and 3 I hear about equal.
I think that they just ratchet up the storytelling. Not to mention, it improves a lot of the behind the scenes stuff too. Like I really like the camera work in Season 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's difficult with the 22 episode format, right? Like, there's always going to be a couple of episodes that were doomed, for lack of a better term. The ones where they had to cut corners. The writer was getting married, and half the writing staff was in the ceremony themselves, and so you got to get something out there, and it's not going to be perfect. It's never perfect, but this season, yes, there's definitely a big leap up in the aesthetics, even of the filmmaking.
So I like ever since you pointed out the mirror theme, I've of course lost many hours of sleep thinking about mirrors and Angel Season 2.
Sounds on brand.
Yeah, and I as much as this is probably a controversial opinion. As much as the Pylea arc is not my favorite,
it's not my favorite either.
I don't really enjoy it.
I think you're the only other. No, I don't want to out her, but I think Lonnie told me she's not a big fan of that one either. So, but I know we're in the minority on that one.
Yeah. One of the most affecting parts for me is when he is in full Green Goblin vampire mode and sees himself, in the reflecting pool in Fred's cave. And I was thinking about the mirror theme, and when he first sees himself in human form in the Pylean castle, he doesn't recognize himself. But when he sees his demon reflection in the cave, he absolutely recognizes himself. He's like, "Oh, that's me."
Yeah.
And so if we're starting here with how does he see himself, and going forward all the way through the season, all the way up to if nothing we do matters, all that matters is what we do, then of course Judy is the analog for Angel, and Judy being trapped alone in her thoughts for 50 years is Angel's guilt, throughout this whole time. Because if you draw a connect the dots line from deciding not to fight the Thessalak and walking away to failing to save the diner shootout victim to when Whistler walks up to him in Manhattan, that's a man who's decided that nothing he does matters. But without the overwhelming epiphany part.
Yes, it's the nihilism as opposed to the existentialism.
It's the I tried and it didn't help.
Yeah.
So why try? So it's really affecting, and I really like it. And of course, the racial themes in the episode and the political themes in the episode are also just slap yourself in the face, Skippy with it. I relate a little bit as well to the biraciality of it. So my mom's Mexican American, my dad is quite white, and I look like a regular old white guy most of the time, I feel like. But I didn't know what white passing was until I started getting into like equity and inclusion education.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd always seen myself as Hispanic, as Latino. And I didn't realize very few other people saw me that way. And so that was jarring. And so when Judy, was talking about, it's I've been passing since I was however old she was. I was like, wow, I had too, and I didn't realize it. So that affected on a level as well. But then I think that if we're going to go with the alcoholic theme,
okay,
we're definitely going to go with the alcoholic theme.
Well, yeah, I think it's always there.
It's especially prominent in season 2.
Okay. This is a relapse, or how does this fit for you? How does this play?
Well, so what happens later in season 2 is a relapse. He gets dosed. He gets roofied in the Shroud of Ramon.
Oh, interesting.
And then he chooses to indulge in reunion and I can't remember the names of the episodes. In the Darla Drusilla arc, he chooses to indulge.
Yeah, I don't have all of them in mind either.
Yeah. So if Judy is a reflection of Angel, then in the addiction metaphor, Judy was acting under the influence, turned on Angel, and Angel being able to forgive her, her heinous betrayal, is his first step towards being able to forgive himself this season for all the times that he acted under the influence of a demon.
Yeah.
Just like Judy did. So it hits big, and the Giles quote I think is especially applicable. I haven't worn this hat in quite some time. The Giles quote is especially applicable as well because it's a judgment call, like Sarah said. Can you forgive somebody for the assholery that they committed while they were acting under the influence?
Right.
It's a person-to-person decision. There's not a right answer.
Yeah, and whenever we talk about these things in culture and art versus the artist and all of that, I think it feels like a cop-out, but I think ultimately it always comes down to that individual decision as well, which is a problem then with mob mentality. But because it's easy to listen to the voices of your bubble and the way that we've organized ourselves and however you personally identify one way or another, and to sort of lockstep or to sort of grapple with and I think we all suffer decision fatigue a lot of times when it comes to the news cycle and celebrities or artists in the news cycle. But it is, I think, unfortunately, it's what you say. It's an individual decision for every one of us. My stepmom couldn't watch any Nicolas Cage movies because she grew up in Chicago during the Richard Speck era. Richard Speck was I believe he was an infamous Chicago serial killer. I don't remember. And Nicolas Cage reminded her, especially in his Raising Arizona days and his earlier filmography, just reminded her too much of Richard Speck, and she just kind of made that individual decision to never watch any of his things ever again. And that's a weird example, but that's a line that she drew, and it you know, we always kind of respected it when she didn't want to go see The Rock or whatever it was. So strange example, I understand, but that's one of the ones that sprung to mind.
Judy, the fact that Judy dies right after Angel forgives her, and to me dies means that Tesla probably wasn't feeding her TV dinners. He was keeping her alive mystically.
Yeah.
Like she basically ran out of batteries by the time he got up to the room. But also the fact that she dies right after Angel forgives her means that Judy never gets the opportunity to forgive herself and the whole lesson yet. He's only got the first part.
Oh, that's
of the
interesting.
piece.
Yeah. Interesting. I like it.
Yeah. And then, so I'm not a fan also of the Hyperion.
Okay.
Especially as like the headquarters of a group of people who many people want to kill.
Right.
It's like the least secure headquarters ever. Like nobody can be kept out of that place. Like Gunn and Fred, like they come home one time and they like find people in there.
Right.
Like, how'd you all get in here? Like, none of you people lock any of the 85 doors that are in this place.
Or the 600 windows.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's always a little frustrating from a storytelling standpoint.
I'd never thought about that, but I think you're right.
It's an absolutely pregnable fortress. It's nonsense.
Yeah, as opposed to the basement, the sub basement, in the other places that he stayed at. But he does have I guess it does fit character when you think about the mansion, and if he was always trying to get Darla a view that she was looking for, as the Tish McGev calls out, a vampire moves to a city known for its sun and gets a convertible.
Yeah.
Definitely fits Angel's character, but it's funny. I agree with you. It's a little maddening.
It also matches it. The mansion and the Hyperion both are stark contrasts to the house that he grew up in, which was like one room for 5 people or something like that.
Yeah.
So. But yeah, I mean, this episode is fantastic. I just love it, and every time I get to the end, I'm just like wrapped in a blanket, sucking on an Oreo in my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, there's a nice little emotional moment where this is a house of evil, not anymore. I love that turn. I love the use of the place to speak for his identity. I think it's terrific, but it is definitely heavy on the melancholy.
Yeah,
I would describe it as a peaceful melancholy for that scene. By the way,
that's all I can say.
All right, bud. I hope we all went to and saw what Jack posted last night after the Hangout.
Oh yeah.
Just making sure. Let me go to Charlie. Charlie, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
I don't care that it's November 1st for some of us. Happy Halloween.
Well, we're happy to celebrate it. Happy you're celebrating with us across time zones.
I'm working. Working on it, guys. It's a moment.
Love it.
Cool. I kind of went into this one. I was like, I didn't prepare anything to say. I was just like, it'll come to me, as it always does when so many really clever and fascinating people start talking about Buffy and Angel. So things did come to me as I was listening and crocheting.
Hit me.
Yeah. So I love this episode. It's just so well just looks so good. It just looks so good,
Yeah.
and the moment I think stand out, probably definitely one of my favorite moments, like the more not favorite, but I don't know, iconic, standout. It just replays in my head a lot when I think about Angel. Is definitely the moment where at the while at the end when everyone is accosting her, and she breaks away and runs to him, and it's like this classic damsel in distress moment, runs to the hero for like half a second, and then it stops and it turns into this just ugly, her face, this like the acting is amazing, like this, her face distorts and it's this ugly, it was him. It's just so so good.
In the video I tried to punctuate that with an "Oh Judy," and I was not being patronizing in that. It was a genuine sort of pain in the like the way that turn also hurts her. I think that moment is sometimes overshadowed by the brutality of the hanging that occurs a second or two later, but on rewatches, that emotionally is a moment that just hits so hard. I've never distilled it in the way that you did, which is there's that half beat where we think she's running to him to be saved, and then she throws him under the bus. It's an amazing beat.
It's definitely one of the standout moments from Angel for me. And it says a lot as well, like, about him. Obviously this entire episode is talking about, it's how he's on that journey to becoming a hero, but at this point in time he tried and didn't rise to the occasion. Obviously that's what the whole episode is about, but I think this moment encapsulated that of him wanting to be a hero, but then because of his fundamental nature, not thinking he can be, or not, because the thing she calls out from is, he's got blood in his room, look. It's in that one tiny moment encapsulates the entire thing of the episode, which is, him wanting to be a hero, but not being, kind of letting it, in the end, it's his decision. He lets himself down. It's not him being a vampire that's really stops him from being a hero. It's, he makes his decision. It's not his nature.
Makes a choice.
But he makes a choice, but it is for him. It's because because the fact that he's a vampire, that's how he, justifies, being this sort of apathetic, anyway. That's why I love that moment. We were thinking, there's a lot that been said. I won't add to. As for there's been a lot of talk in the chat, about what role does, when we're doing criticism of media or we're reacting to media, how much we should talk about, the logic of, how much does it make sense that Judy was alive for all that time?
Right.
How much does it make sense? We in the rewatch yesterday, it was kind of, how does Angel get all his money, sort of thing.
Yeah, or well, I think specifically a lot of fans wonder what he did with that money, but there has been a running, and Tim says in the commentary that, well, of course he gave it back, but he has a weird kind of mischievous tone when he says it in the commentary track, so I don't know if he really means that, but it would explain how he buys the property and pays for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's like, for the purpose, I know they weave in season 3, they weave it into the narrative. There's an episode or so where he's worrying about how to provide for Connor and they don't have enough money. There's a money episode. Yeah. But other than that, it's overall, money isn't really something that's brought up in the text a lot. And I think it's because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
I
agree with that.
And it's to bring it back to like the conversations, like if it doesn't matter to the story arcs and the if it doesn't matter to the theme and the story and all that, it doesn't we can notice it. We can have. I personally have fun sometimes picking apart the the log. It can be fun. I just don't think it works in so much in immediate criticism. Except
it doesn't influence my perspective on the episode. It's more of a ponderance.
Yeah. The only time I think when the real world logic and facts and all that stuff comes in is when I think when the episode of the piece of fiction is explicitly making a commentary on or referring to a real life historical, or like this episode. Like we can talk about how well it's representing the race relations of the time, things like that. Like it's obviously it's not completely set in another galaxy, and it is actually making explicit reference to stuff that real world events.
This episode is one of the episodes like these kinds of stories are where we talk about some of the ways in which the Buffyverse hasn't aged well. The Faith Riley Buffy interaction in season 4 and the way that story treats Riley specifically. And we've talked about how fantasy generally gets a pass. You can't apply the same rules to a fantasy universe, the same moral or ethical rules to a fantasy universe across the board that you do to ours. And yet, it's episodes like these that sort of steal away the free pass for the Buffyverse. Because, as you said, these are the ones that are specifically commenting on our time through the lens of the fantasy itself. So, as much as I love this one, it's also one of the ones that makes the mistakes, I say in air quotes, in other episodes, something that we need to talk about, whether that's representation and gun or yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, and I think so. In the chat when we were doing the rewatch, it's yesterday for me. It was yesterday for you, right? As well. Yeah, time. Yeah. There was M, I think, in the chat who made the point of it's a bit while it works narratively from the story and character point, the fact that Angel is the one being hanged and Judy because Judy denounced him. It's from a historical perspective, it's a bit more so the black the white guy is getting hanged and the black character is the bad, the one who denounced him. When the hanging is very explicit, it's obviously referring to the lynchings in American history. And also something that I added was, while it's a very impactful moment and it's saying something, it is saying something broadly about the McCarthyism and the reactionary fear. The fact that after Angel is hanged, there's that immediate beautiful, everyone is shocked.
The breath.
There's everything. In truth, again, we're talking about the episode is referring actual lynchings. After the lynchings, there were parties, there were picnics, there wasn't that. It works from if we're talking over time, society reacting, decades later and having that shifting moment. But again, this episode is making explicit reference to lynchings, and at the actual lynchings, again, it wasn't the white guy getting lynched, and there wasn't an immediate, people didn't immediately go, oh my God, what have we done? They celebrated.
Yeah,
I think that's where we can criticize the episode, is that it is referring to real life events. And even though it really, it works, I feel the chills when I watch it, it works from the story.
No! Oh, shoot. Hold on. No! Give me just a sec, everyone. I accidentally dropped out of the meeting. I'm so sorry. This is gonna take me a minute. La 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 la. I'm going to my happy place. I'm gonna find my power animal. Join now.
Dropped out, and then I love Ian Martin to death. Oh, hey, Ian.
Ian, you're back.
And
I thought I scared you away.
And I'm breathing for the first time in the last
You're
30
muted.
seconds. Oh. I'm actually breathing for the first time in the last 30 seconds. That was a full-on panic attack. I don't know what happened. I'm sorry you were interrupting. Oh, we were talking about we were talking about the hanging. To me, that moment reads while it's effective too. You know, if we're nitpicking the moment, like, and I thought of this, not nitpicking, that's not what you were doing, but I'm going to nitpick the moment for just a second, and that is that nobody stuck around. They all walked off to their separate locations so that he could conveniently remove the noose and drop. To me, the reason that moment doesn't play out the way that you describe, which, you know, if we're talking about representation of actual history, might have been more on point, is for the sake of the storytelling. The demon needs to then show himself, and it just makes it much simpler for all of that. But I agree with you, and I think what you brought up was a good point.
It makes perfect. I'm just referring to making the, you know, it makes perfect sense for the story, and I do love the moment. Like, I feel it. I do think, you know, and it was it was M. Like EM something. So if you're in the chat, you're the one who started this line of thought. So thank you. And to unknown, is that Josh? Unknown.
Yeah, I think Josh.
Unknown here in the chat here. He said that I'm here to make commentary often, except no, it's awesome, not often. Okay. I am. I for some context. So I'm third year of a 5-year university degree. I normally get to talk about, you know, queer theory and media theory and stuff in my English major classes, but this semester I'm doing an education degree, and this semester it's all been lesson planning. I've been just designing lessons and activities and all that stuff. And yes, I do insert a lot of post-colonial theory into there. We're in a colonial state here in Australia, so I do try, but it's good to talk about. This is my opportunity to talk about some things that I don't get to talk about a lot. So that's why my commentary, I get to let it out.
Well, is there anything else you want to throw out about Are You Now, or Have You Ever?
Yeah, not really. Oh yeah, just the Judy, obviously the passing thing is, it's, you know, it's grown to also mean passing as in trans people passing, and I do feel there was a lot of resonance with a trans narrative as well. You know, obviously she explicitly says, you know, passing as white, but there's, you know, a lot of the way she talks about it, you know, I'm not one thing or another. It also it did feel like if they hadn't explicitly stated passing as white, you know, the same story could have been told, and it also has that. It could have also had that resonance. That was just me watching this, you know, this episode. I was like, a lot of this sounds exactly like other trans narratives I've heard, well, other actual trans narratives. But yeah, this whole thing, and yeah. It's just it's a really good episode.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right.
And also, obviously we've been talking a lot about the historical stuff, but I just love Wesley and Cordelia hanging out, solving mysteries together. That's the main, and about the show in general, the main parts of both Angel and Buffy that's just great is just when they're hanging out, going, you know, researching, quipping, making fun of each other.
Chemistry.
When Cordelia's just been on the phone with Angel, who's told her it's a Thessalite demon, but Wesley doesn't know that, and she comes up with the answer that he's been, you know, looking for all day, and has got this crazy out, you know, it's just the stuff I live. I feel like obviously we talk about all this other stuff with Angel, but I just live for those, them hanging out and bantering
Yeah,
moments in both Buffy and Angel.
One of the core mutant enemy strengths by a long shot is chemistry, and I first kind of realized with Buffy, I would sit and watch these characters at the DMV for 45 minutes, and it would be a good time. And this episode verges on that a little bit when it comes to the two of them, and it's still entertaining. So, all right, well,
we don't get a lot of it, but as usual, what we do get is amazing.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. I think I just realized that there are other people here that I am not seeing, right? Yes, there are people that are not on screen. I apologize. Russell, I didn't want to save everyone who doesn't want to be on video till the very end. I'm not trying to do that. I just didn't see it. Google Meet is new, and the way it presents everyone, apparently it leads with people who have their video on versus people who are just here with audio. So, Russell, I didn't see you there. I apologize. How are you doing, bud?
I'm good. Is the mic working today?
Yeah, you sound good, loud and clear.
Okay, perfect. I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. Happy Halloween.
You too. I'll be working tonight, so.
That sucks, but I'm working tonight too, so. Not that it feels like work. Well, tell me about Are You Now or Have You Ever?
It's one of my favorite. I think I mentioned that when you were actually editing it. Seems so long ago, but
it is
one of my.
It was a long time ago.
And there's a lot of foreshadowing from Angel's attitude, the way he walks away at the end after they try to hang him, to what we get to with how he handles his team. We are completely spoiled. I think you said that, right?
Yeah, totally spoiled.
Okay. Where he says, "You're all fired. We're locking up the lawyers with Darla and Drusilla, and somehow I don't seem to care."
Yeah.
To his speech in Epiphany with Kate. And, I think this has been brought up already. But I love how he makes also that comment about the smallest act of kindness. And I think he shows that here with Judy.
Yeah, this episode is pretty much a Buffy episode 7. The way it foreshadows the entire arc. I mean, Angel episode 7 is pretty significant structurally, the Darla episode, but this one really feels like a Buffy episode 7 to me. The way the whole thing is there, including that little bit that you said. I love it.
Yeah, so do I. It's great. 2 weeks ago, and I'm not bringing up Connor, so
okay.
I'm just
we'll get there.
We had brought up Connor.
Yeah, that was my fault the last.
And so I decided to watch. No, not at all. So I decided to play devil's advocate and start watching Angel season 4.
Okay.
And Angel season 4 got a little problematic, so I had to skip to season 5. I'm taking a little break.
Okay.
So I started with the episode Unleashed because it's been forever since I've seen it. And there's a small comment that Angel says to Nina that after watching Now or Have You Ever Been, or the episode with Holtz, or even early on with Buffy, that just surprises me. I don't know how to read that, but I think it's interesting. He never tells people that know he's a vampire that he has a soul. He didn't tell Buffy right away. He didn't tell the Holtz, and he didn't tell Devlin, the clerk, yet in Unleash. He's like, I'm a vampire, but I have a soul. And I thought that was kind of interesting because Angel is not one to share. And
No.
it goes back to Now or Have You Ever Been. He did not share the information that he was there in 1952 to his team. And like I said, I don't have any direction with this. I just found it interesting that off the bat, he just full disclosure with Nina. But well,
I think that's supposed to definitely be a I don't know exactly where they were going to go with that relationship, but I think Nina was supposed to be him being more adulty with his relationships and his levels of communication and what's possible. I still think, given the curse, as an anxious, occasionally insecure man, if I were with someone who had a curse that every time they experienced true happiness, they went evil, I think that would be a perpetual source of, wait, but that one didn't make you evil? All right, well, we'll try. No matter how hard I tried to accept to do what Nina and he do in that season, I think I would still be on some level going, what do you mean that you're not evil after that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I said I really enjoyed this episode. In your review, you had said that you had wished there was more Team Angel. I think for the specifics of this episode, just because this is a solo episode,
yeah,
and we get a little bit more about Angel, so the absence for the bulk of this episode never rather bothered me. I grew up with shows like Forever Night. Have a reason why Nick all of a sudden was a good vampire. By the way, John Capellos, who plays the store clerk, plays a detective in that show. Nice little send off there.
Nice.
But where was I going with that?
You're just talking about the episode, sort of how it lands for you, and we can go on if you want.
Yeah, it's like I said, it's one of my I know where I was going.
Okay.
Not having Team Angel in there. Sorry about that, brain fart.
Well, that's okay.
I like episodes that focus on him as a solo, especially after watching some of the flashback episodes later with like him and Darla.
Yeah.
Him the episode Darla, for example. What has he been doing ever since he ran out with that baby? What has he done for 50 years? Clearly, he hadn't lived on the streets for 100 years.
Yeah, I love backfill episodes like that for sure.
And so he's trying to mingle with humans, and I think his problem is they all have souls, and he can't understand why would you be this cruel and evil to one another, as opposed to his personal situation. And he's a moody guy. He feels double-crossed. He's like, take them all. So I think it fits. Like I said, it's one of my favorites. I like the standalone to it. There's just not a lot to comment that hasn't really been said.
Yeah, that can be a challenge in these discussions, I know. The other thing too is I just to be clear, I am hesitant to ever use the word bad. I would never use the word bad when I was talking about episodes where they pull the group away or where they separate out. I just wanted to be careful to sing the praises of the episode. The episode is incredible. My personal tastes and my personal bias for the types of Buffyverse episodes that I really enjoy are the ones that are very team-driven, team-central, team-focused. And, I'm going to try, especially when numerous times, I think in the... hopefully I phrased that way in Why You Should Watch Angel, when the show regularly breaks up the team because the team kind of represents him and he's sort of exploring the aspect of his identity repeatedly and all of that. So inevitably the team breaks up. I don't like those stretches. I find the show at its best when they're all together. So that's just a personal preference. The word bad is to, it's.
I didn't mean to imply bad.
Oh yeah, no. I'm just saying, like, subjectively, I love the shows most when they're all clicking along, and to me that's an issue with Buffy season 4. where I think thematically it was ideal for them to be separated, but personally I feel like that hurt the chemistry, which is one of the things I think Mutant Enemy does incredibly well, and one of the draws to both of the shows for me.
I think I'm going to end with one final note.
All right, bud.
I want to backtrack one of my statements from the pilot of Angel. We had talked about Angel's failed client list. And rewatching Now or Have You Ever Been, I had said that he failed Judy. But him giving her what she needed at the end, I think he kind of saved her.
Yeah.
He gave her that mind.
Well, he ultimately did the right thing. I hope she got a refund, because that wasn't the best service, is all I'm going to say. But I agree with you.
So I think I'm going to end it there. And thank you, Ian. You have a great Halloween.
All right, bud. You too. Again, I'm sorry for my ham-handedness here. I just want to make sure that I don't just save everyone who doesn't have a camera for the very end. Nikki? Jameson? Nikki, are you there?
She already went.
Oh, okay. I apologize. Oh, she did. Yes. Thank you, Jack. All right. Let's go over to Elizabeth. Elizabeth, hello. Can't hear you.
Sorry about that. It just wouldn't unmute. Hi.
Hi. Welcome. Thanks for staying up. I can see
Yeah,
the time
I don't
over
really get
your
a
shoulder.
chance. Yeah, I don't really get the chance very often, as my schedule's pretty problematic. I work almost every Saturday, and then I'm just too exhausted to stay up till 12 or 11 and just keep going. And I can't sleep during the day unless I'm really, really sick, so that wouldn't really happen. But tonight I'm off actually, so yeah, that's great. So
Well,
yeah, love the
welcome.
episode, and I don't, to be honest, when I remember watching it for the first time, as opposed to the Buffy sort of series, I always thought, I mean, because I'm not sure how everybody else feels about this, but every flashback that is done either in Buffy's show or in an Angel show, it's like a treat almost to a fan, like myself, and because you get such a so much more information, the backstory to the character, how they got to the place where we see them, like at the time when the episode, it's showing there as their story progresses. So seeing Angel in 1952 was really interesting, because from Buffy only remembered him at least when they showed in the, I think it was Becoming part 1 and 2, when they showed his him becoming a vampire, and then when he met was it Whistler, yeah. Whistler, yeah, when he met Whistler for the first time, and Whistler was sort of like found him sort of like trying to catch a rat for dinner, and we see him in this terrible state, just looking like a homeless person, basically. And it just makes you wonder, made me wonder at that time if he was always like this since the time between when he got his soul back after the curse in Romania, and then the present moment, at least at the time of the Buffy episode. So what I found that was interesting is that there was so much that we really didn't know about the story, or however the writer wanted to sort of convey that to us, what we thought could have happened, because then you've had some episodes with like Spike, and there was this submarine episode during World War II, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Boris will type the name of that in a second.
So I found this really interesting, and to be honest, I learned quite a lot from your reviews. So when you do the episode guide, and you did this episode guide now, whenever it was, a couple of years ago, last year, and I don't know that much about the American history or the politics. I'm not really interested in politics, to be honest. But the what did you call that? McCarthyism. McCarthyism, exactly. So, I mean, I know who the president, who the presidents were in the States, but I don't know that much about the political sort of the rhetoric and how the political views were, how they influenced the public and the social sort of moods. So it is very interesting because you've sort of talked about it during your review, and that is like giving a very different sort of like almost like a different, it gives like an episode different voice in a way.
Sure.
And when I watched it myself, from someone being from a different culture, from Europe, and I just found this whole, Angel and Judy, their interaction as a parallel between sort of Angel and her, and him sort of identifying with her as she was passing for a white person and he was passing for a human living at the hotel, battling his own demons. So I found that's quite interesting. So he was obviously still drinking human blood, but he was helping her. I mean, he kind of really, obviously, he wanted to be left to his own devices, to just be left on his own, because he was very clandestine. So he was really, really like living, sort of flying under the radar. So when she came through to him with just for help, it's almost like, when he got to talk to her and he realized what kind of trouble she was in, it's like he sort of made a decision that he's gonna help her. And there was this whole talk about blood, that blood's blood, which is pretty cool in my opinion, because from his perspective, he didn't care what kind of, racially, who was he biting or drinking whose blood he was drinking. But from her perspective, it was like a completely different, her blood was tainted, and she felt like because of that, she was like somebody very, very sort of inferior to anyone else in her sort of reality. So I thought that this was quite interesting, because it gave you, there was like three different almost dimensions. You had the political, you had the racial, and then you've had the almost like biological aspect of it, which a lot of people, when you think about sort of evolution, it's obviously so obvious to us nowadays, but back then in the 50s it wasn't, not even near. So I found that quite interesting. And like the actress, when the scene, when she sort of, to save herself, she accused them that he was the monster, he was the guilty party, and they sort of attacked him. I mean, they took him, then they hung him. But then like the look on Angel's face when he saw, the almost not the betrayal maybe, but like he felt like he was, there for her to help her, and then she just turned at him, basically turned against him. But I think at the end of the episode, when finally the demons, vanquished or whatever they did to him, and he sort of forgives her, it's like almost he realizes that it was done from the place of fear, that she was obviously terrified of what would happen to her if that sort of angry mob, if they gone against her. So she just turned against him. He didn't really obviously, like it's been said, that the forgiveness, it wasn't the act of, it's not done because somebody sort of deserves it, but because they need it. And I think that's what he did, but also gave him like a better understanding of the situation, I think. And that's why when he said that against what Wesley said, that it was a house of evil, and he said it was no longer house of evil, that kind of, I think it was it Boris that mentioned it, maybe Josh, that somebody said that the angel didn't sort of move on. I felt like he did move on from that time, what happened to him in the 50s, and that moment when he said that house is no longer, the hotel is no longer house of evil, that it was the moment when actually truly moved on, at least from that incident.
Yeah.
And what happened, we put it behind him, basically.
Well, agree from the incident, but Angel more so than Buffy, definitely. There are lessons repeated, which the way that I've ultimately grokked to that is that's just kind of a part of adulthood. You learn a particular lesson in one context and then need to relearn that lesson in a different context oftentimes. And this whole episode specifically sets up him saying take them all and giving the hotel away to the demon is him giving away the lawyers to Darla and Drew, however many episodes we are away from that. That little bit of foreshadowing. But again, it's a different context, it's a different lesson, and that little bit of storytelling is for us more than it is for Angel. But to me, the takeaway is that personal moment between he and Judy and the forgiveness and so forth. I don't know that all of the idiosyncrasies of this lesson are apparent to him just yet. But still, the complexity that you were describing, be it from the politics or all of that, is incredible in this episode. And I know that the channel has, I think at least 50% of the channel followers are non-American. And so I thought I would take it upon myself to provide a little context for what was going on. I think that has happened in one other episode, but it's not apparent to me at the moment which one it is. This one,
No,
very
absolutely.
specifically. Yeah.
No, that's brilliant. I mean, the amount of research that you do for your guide is absolutely brilliant. And, I'm sure that I'm not going to just speak for myself, but we are very grateful, the work you do, because I'm sure it's like hours and hours of research and then, preparation and the script and the edit. But it's brilliant, and we learn so much. And it's almost like after all these years, and I've learned, I've watched Buffy since it's their first, aired 20 years ago. Jesus, it's hard to believe, isn't it? It makes you feel so old. But it's just like because of the guide, your guide, and because of the sort of like the dialogue, the conversation that it sort of that inspires in a community, I feel it's like you learn not only to appreciate it more, but you also, notice different aspects of it. And the references that maybe I haven't picked on because I'm from a different culture, or I haven't been growing up with the same maybe cultural. I didn't have the same sort of point of reference as you have.
Sure.
Obviously, most of it was the same, but in terms of like a popular culture, but a lot of political things like. I would just sort of totally miss them on the show, but with the guide and with speaking to everyone, and everybody obviously has their own experiences, like being from different cultural backgrounds, like being maybe mix American and maybe different culture, and it's very interesting because everybody has a different reception of the episodes, and you feel like you may, in a way, identify with the character, one or the other, but not necessarily the same way as someone else who may be identifying for the same reason.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm personally, I wouldn't be able to identify with any of it. Doesn't mean I don't enjoy it. I love it. It's been so beautifully done. The drama and like how they've done the 50s, the hotel, the people, and like the whole paranoia. I had no idea about the political, sort of aspect of it, but the paranoia demon and the whispers, it was so creepy and so well done. So yeah, absolutely love that. Definitely one of my favorite episodes of Angel.
I think when it comes to making anything, there should be a hierarchy of priorities, and usually the number one, if the first one is to entertain, if and they do that so well. There are layers and depths down that hierarchy of priorities that you can go as deep as you want to. And I started doing this because I wanted to internalize a lot of the philosophy that I was learning through the context of the show. And I thought if I could write about it, if I could, make this content, then I would be able to internalize it for myself. So yeah, it's an interesting journey. And you were talking about how when the episode aired is now making you feel old. The channel is now old enough that when I look at how old some of the videos are, I'm starting to have that reaction as well. So
it's crazy.
Is there anything else you want to throw out about Are You Now or Have You Ever?
No, I'm okay. I let others speak. Thank you.
All right, sounds good. Let me go to Tom. There we go. Let's go to Kay, and then I'll go to Tom. Hi, Kay. Welcome.
Thank you. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Replacement Xander.
Oh, you look great.
But yeah, this
What's your
episode
costume?
is.
Oh, she's Xander.
Xander.
Yeah, Xander.
But yeah, this episode makes me go insane because it's so good. and like in terms of episodes that make me go insane in the very specific way that Buffyverse can about ideas about forgiveness, it's like at the top. But like hit on that idea already. So like kind of popped into my head when Charlie talked about Ron kind of being towards the hero for that first bit and then kind of transforming into that, like, essentially. Kind of cool to me that because of that choice that she makes, not completely on her own because there's the paranoia demon, she choose like to attack inner turmoil, even though it's like influenced by that demon.
Mm-hmm.
The way that she ends up getting stuck in the like kind of an interesting connection to both the ideas that the Buffyverse has about forgiveness, but also connecting back to absurdism, where it's like it's not completely of her own volition, but kind of throw out this just more negative perspective where she's essentially giving away negativity and she ends up trapped in that negative space. Kind of like when you make the decision to see the world as a terrible place, you are essentially making it that terrible place.
Submitting to that fear herself.
Yeah. And like, yeah. And I think that part of, like, that is part of what makes the final like scene where Angel forgives her for me, because when we see Angel at his most vulnerable, it's when he's battling that absurdism and seeing the terrible world and not understanding how he's not supposed to be terrible in it. And she's stuck in literally paranoia constantly. Forgiveness, and he gives it away. It's like almost, I guess, obvious to him in that moment what, and I think that's really cool.
It's definitely, it's good stuff.
Yeah. Angel, like, as he is in the flashbacks there, like, pre-Whistler, is really interesting to look at because, like, obviously Buffyverse talks a lot about, like, redeemability and, like, evil and bad and good versus to be, like, a person who can be both of those things and none of them. I think it's cool that where he has rejected Angelus, he's not him anymore. He also isn't really anything else. It's cool because we see all these characters go through like changes where they have their moments of spiraling or just being not great people to these moments of being better. And I think it's cool that stagnant place, I guess.
I lost the part of your sentence there. The mic dropped out. You think it's better that, and then I got stagnant place. Sorry, the internet's the internet's a little fuzzy.
Yeah, I think it's cool because we get a lot of characters who go from good to, not easily, but they go kind of from this place of, or good to bad, but we get this, but in a very stagnant way.
Yeah, the undefined angel is a very interesting angel in the series, which was what I think they were playing around with in this one. It's very interesting to see. It's the sort of to choose not to choose is a choice, but this is his object in the universe at the mercy of its circumstances kind of experience, maybe even more inert than Angelus himself. Almost certainly so. It's an interesting exploration philosophically that we don't get to see very often. So I definitely enjoy it from that perspective.
But yeah, that's all I had that hasn't really been touched on before.
All right, but, yeah, I know it's difficult to come in at the end. Sorry about that.
I got to hear so many great thoughts. It was great.
All right, good deal. And Tom.
How are you, Ian?
I'm doing great, Tom. How you doing?
I'm well. So yeah, this is one of my favorite episodes. It's definitely top 10 of the series. I didn't feel that way the first time I saw it, although I did like it. But every time I watch it, I find something new and find something more that I hadn't really understood before. My latest rewatch of it, which was this afternoon. I don't know why I didn't. I guess I noticed it before, but I didn't really think about it before. When Angel comes home to the 217 the first time, and he has the blood.
Yeah.
And he goes out and gets ice for it.
Yeah.
Now this maybe have been colored by the fact that I just recently watched Disharmony, where Harmony is talking to Angel and she says, don't you miss it? The hot, warm, sticky blood going down your throat, and as she's talking about drinking fresh human blood, if it's a pleasure. And I'm suddenly thinking, okay, is he putting it on ice so it won't be that pleasurable? So he'll get less of a pleasurable sensation from it? I could be totally, just maybe he's just keeping it fresh.
Yeah.
But that was just, that because I just seen that episode, I was just like, I wonder if that's a.
Yeah, I mean, I like where you're going. I love the potential self-flagellation, but definitely there's not a microwave in each room in the 50s, so I'd probably err on the side of preservation.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But one of the other things I've noticed about this episode, at least for me, is how few really memorable moments it has. It's very much more of a cohesive whole that just flows.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a whole lot of great one-liners or really cool one little scenes. It kind of just flows, and the editing is absolutely gorgeous.
The editing's incredible.
Fabulous. Absolutely amazing.
When young Angel, for lack of a better term, comes back with all the tools for the Thessallac, and you see Cordy and Wes come in the hotel, and it's a hard cut back to Angel in modern times. That is so cool. Yeah, the visual stuff they did like that. I really enjoy it.
Yeah, beautifully directed, beautifully edited. Earlier in the discussion, somebody mentioned flashback episodes, and I love flashback episodes, but I'm also on a lot of on Facebook, a lot of Buffy chats, Buffy pages, and I don't know the name, remember the name of the person, but there was a person in one chat who said that they hated the flashback episodes.
Well,
because
okay, because why?
Because they messed with their internal headcanon of what her past was like.
Interesting.
That was my reaction, Josh. That was my reaction.
Yeah.
But
I saw. I read an interview with Tim about this episode, it was about Fool for Love and Darla.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was about Fool for Love and Darla, and it was they were objecting to the idea that he said there was an outcry because by showing flashbacks sort of out of he mentioned Pulp Fiction a number of times and sort of nonlinear storytelling, and by showing flashbacks out of order, how it felt to them like retconning what had actually happened with Angel the character. But there's 100 years of history in that character that we don't get to see, and I think my contention is that we, as in the last 20 years as audiences, have been sort of brought into more and more nonlinear storytelling as time has gone on. Pulp Fiction created a big rush of it. Anything Christopher Nolan does is very nonlinear, and that's all incredibly mainstream. So I just wonder. I think that what you describe is a reflection of that perspective that initially occurred when the show when the show was aired. But the other thing too is I've just kind of learned that every opinion exists. When it comes to the fandom, when it comes to particular characters, there are people who love Kennedy. You know, well, there you go. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot. I love it. Every opinion exists, and that was a mistake of mine in the writing early on to assume that there was a broad, singular perspective about anything in the show. It's better for me to just speak more personally and to sort of make my case about my own perspective and let the chips fall where they may. But that is a very unusual perspective. Most of the, by and large, the flashback episodes are favorites a lot of times.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
That's an unusual one.
Yeah. Although I don't think anybody loves Warren.
Yeah,
I think that's pretty safe to say nobody loves Warren.
Well, the only way you love one of the villains is because the way the villain exposes the story or brings things up. So, like, people love the mayor, people do love Glory. Yeah, I don't think anyone loves Warren. Does anyone love that?
No.
Do we want to know? I've talked about this before. I even got a comment on in the channel once of someone making a defense of Parker. You know, you think like all opinions exist. Well, there you go. There's a Parker did nothing wrong group, which I would think exists in culture, but actually being a fan of the show and is a level of dissonance I hadn't expected.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else about Are You Now?
Yeah, I love the atmospheric details, the historical details, I love the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, when the opening shot of the Hyperion when it's dissolving from 2002 to 1952, and you see the cars drive by, and the cars and the clothes and just everything was.
Yeah, the episode has a texture.
The guy who played the fellow who played Bid Bellhop, he just
Yeah, the episode has a texture to it.
He's not there. He's not there.
Apparently, he was the stunt double for the Dean in Community, which was the doppel. I was trying to place him last night when we were doing the rewatch the entire time. So, yeah, there's a texture to the episode. I love that zoom into the picture. It's an unusual bit of whimsy that you don't get a lot of in the show. I think there's a little bit of whimsy in the Buffy episode Family. And Once More with Feelings, certainly. But like that level of whimsy is a little unusual, and I do enjoy whimsy, which is weird because I don't like camp. But I think there's a very specific distinction. So yeah, I love the texture of this one for sure.
Yeah. And what was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh yeah, I always assumed that Angel used the money to put a down payment or whatever on the hotel.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't that much. That wouldn't he doesn't. We know he doesn't buy the hotel because he still has to pay. He's paying rent on it.
Right.
Apparently later in the season, but and also this is the best of all the Buffyverse, the best second episode of any season.
Yeah. I would have to go through you've got like living conditions. There's a lot of
but it's the best. No other second. I've checked. And it's objectively, definitively true.
Yeah.
Metaphysically, absolutely true that it's the best second episode of any season in the Buffyverse. Period. no debate. You know,
that doesn't surprise me. Buffy seasons usually start slow, and Angel is very experimental. So I would think that lines up. Again, this to me feels more like a Buffy episode 7. The way it metaphorically sets everything up, the amount of time and devotion to the filmmaking, it has that whiff more so than an episode 2 for sure. So that makes sense to me.
And I do before I go, I just want to make a shout out to Sarah's costume codex.
Oh, Sarah.
Sarah's. I did say, Sarah's costume codex. She just put up a Why I Love Babylon 5, and I agree with every single thing she says. And and if you have never watched Babylon 5, you should.
The plug. That's
Absolutely should.
Sarah, if you could put the link in the YouTube chat, I appreciate it. All right, man. Is there anything else you want to throw out about that one?
That's it. I'm done. Thanks.
All right. I'm looking. Is there anyone I didn't get to? Oh, Jack. I mean, Chucky. I mean, Jack.
You forgot about
I did not forget about you. I'm so sorry.
You forgot about me. How could you? You saved the best for last.
I did save the best for last. Wait a second. Wait, am I? How did? What?
What's going on?
I'm very. Oh, I see what happened. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Let me rub your chin a little bit here.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you very much.
Also, I think you're frozen, but I think it's frozen in the way that you want it to be. And oh no, you're the Chucky's moving. So.
What do you mean the Chucky? Is what? What are you talking
Jack,
about?
I love your Halloween costume.
Dude, I told you that I was committed to this gag, and I will stick it out. I will stick it out. Hi.
I can't believe you've been sitting there like this entire time. That makes me very happy.
It's actually been pretty cozy. When I have to type something, it's a little weird, but no, this is fine.
Here, we'll just go ahead and there we go. Now I'm sitting on Chucky's lap.
Okay. Okay.
So, are you now or have you ever, Jack?
Right.
Yes.
Are you now? Have you ever? Yeah. I really like this one. It's one of my favorites. A few technical things first. I love the overall noir vibe. They nailed that really well.
Yes, it's incredible.
Costumes and sets, and even like the acting too is really, really good. I also love the Thessalak demon. I agree with Josh that his lack of arms make him even more creepy or creepier. I like him. He's cool. The Hyperion set is beautiful. I love it. So much so that I was like, wait, is that a real place? But no, it's a set. Let's see, what else have I got here? I mean, what else have I got here? I really like the episodes that give us any backstory or history on the characters, and I think part of that is just it's always done so well. Like they nail his historical stuff really, really, really well. What else is there? So yeah, there's a lot of social commentary going on in this one. Social slash political. You know, there's the African American family in the beginning being told that the hotel is full when it's not. There's two gay men that are saying bye to each other in the hallway during a time period when that was considered a taboo. And then, you know, Judy is worried about passing as white. And I think it's, it's pretty good commentary. And it kind of culminates in this big, sorry, what?
No, I was suddenly I started picturing Chucky actually saying all the things that you're saying. And...
Hey, he is reformed, okay? He is reformed. He's a good man now. He's a good kid. He's my sweet boy. And then it all sort of culminates in them turning on Angel, and I think it's just a good commentary on how easy it is to like manipulate people's prejudices and fears and all of that. Like, because it doesn't take a lot really. Like I know it's a demon and it's got supernatural powers, but yeah, you know, in real life, it's really not that hard. Like politicians today do that. Sorry, I won't go too far into that, but
yeah, I mean, tribalism is a popular term at the moment for the way politics drive us into groups where we perceive each other as separate and we're not.
Right. Yeah. And I guess I'll just finish up by saying the scene at the end is gorgeous. I love it. It's really touching with Judy's death and whatnot. And I think Angel does genuinely forgive her, and that's because well, one of the things I love about Angel as a character or as a person or whatever you want to call it is not just his ability to forgive people, but it's like, so he has done some awful things. Like, well, I consider Angel and Angelus to be two separate characters, but from Angel's perspective, like he remembers it from a first person perspective, like the things that he did.
Right.
He remembers what it was like, what it felt like, and he remembers in enjoying it. And I think it sort of gives him this ability to, and there's many examples of it, but he has this ability to sort of see through all the bullshit and understand why people do what they do. And I think that makes him more like forgiving and understanding of people's mistakes and whatnot.
Yeah, Buffy's a pure paragon kind of hero, and Angel is not, and they both kind of work for different reasons. You know, she's sort of, I mean, pure's the wrong word, but
I mean, she does have faults.
She has,
in the way that Angel does.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that I'm sure there's a term for what you're describing with Angel that sort of has been there, and so you know he's the sinner can forgive the sin, but the type of thing that I think really works for the show for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Yeah, I guess that's it really. That's all I've got.
All right, bud.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I didn't see your face there, and so I got confused. Oh, it's just so pretty. All right. I think I got to everyone. Did I get to everyone? All right. So 2 weeks from today, we are words are hard always at the end of these hangouts. What are we discussing? The replacement. Okay. 2 weeks from today, the replacement. I think doing the 10 minutes is good. Like, I think we're just going to have a bunch to say no matter what. So one episode, we'll do 10 minutes at a time. I will get a video up. I think that's it.
Oh, what was your costume?
Oh, I'm Fancy Bacon.
Oh, Ian? Ian, I think we could include more people if we cut it down to 20 seconds each.
Yeah. We're not going to do that.
That significantly worse a joke than I was expecting.
I told you it was going to be a terrible dad joke.
What makes bacon fancy?
No, that's not even dad joke.
Well, fine. I'm going to go pout.
I'm going to give you a hard time.
To everyone in the stream, to everyone here, thank you so much. I always love these discussions. Safe should be up tomorrow, the Firefly video, and then Monday and Tuesday, or Monday I'm going to be starting Shroud of Ramon, and I'm stacking the Buffy and Angel script writing process in the next one. I've tried that before. It didn't work. We're going to try it again, see how it goes, and maybe I can get videos out a little bit sooner. Thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Ian.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Happy Halloween.
Fancy bacon. It's fancy. It's not the normal bacon. It's fancy bacon.
I don't get it.
That's a perfect ending. Bye.
Bye.